What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's your favorite Harvard dropout here, and in today's video we will be discussing how the events of the Naruto story would change if Naruto was the reincarnation of Luffy. Now guys, this what if is something that I figured that I would be doing since I recently started getting into One Piece seriously, and to tell the truth, I'm loving every single second of it, and I am just falling in love with the character of Luffy as every single episode goes on. As of currently, I am on episode 500, but by the time that the series ends, I will probably most likely be caught up with the current series just because I have no life. But if you also have no life, just like me, then please make sure to go down below and smash that like button for a cookie, because why not? But yeah, with that all being said, I do hope you guys go on to enjoy today's video.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
We start our story with a young Naruto about 7 years old. Now, this Naruto has pretty much had the same life that our original Naruto had, so literally nothing before this changes. Now, at this point, Naruto had just barely begun to become a prankster and has just barely started messing around with the villagers. Now, on this current day, Naruto ended up pulling a prank that many of the villagers weren't very fond of. And with that, a lot of them ended up actually getting extremely angry at Naruto, with the Chunin actually being one of the people among the protesters actually beginning to chase Naruto around the village. Now, when Naruto was running away from the villagers, he would be saying, "I'm sorry!" And this is because this prank went a little too far. Right? This wasn't like before where he would paint all over the Hokage's monument or anything like that, but this was actually a little deeper. He actually ended up hurting somebody by accident with one of his pranks. And so a bunch of the villagers were saying this demon shouldn't be allowed to live. They would begin to chase Naruto with serious intentions to kill him. Before they were angry, obviously they wanted to punish him, but seeing as Naruto had no parents, many of the people couldn't really do too much about his pranks other than complain to the Hokage, who most of the time simply gave Naruto a slap on the wrist. This time, however, Naruto would be running away for his dear life as he would run into the very famous Forest of Death. Now, once Naruto did run in there, a bunch of the people chasing Naruto off would say that fine, we should just leave him here. That forest is a fate far worse than death. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So they would basically begin to say things such as that, and it's at this point that Naruto would essentially just be on top of one of the trees. Now Naruto would be overlooking as everybody just begins to essentially leave, and a couple of the villagers would remain there, saying that they're not going to be leaving until they find this boy's literal remains, his dead body. And so Naruto would be sitting up on the tree thinking, I'm gonna have to wait it out. About a day would go by and Naruto's stomach would begin to growl, but the villagers pretty much ended up setting camp. And so Naruto would end up getting hungrier and hungrier until eventually he would end up having to go deeper into the forest, where he would find a river and drink some water out of that. And it is at this moment that Naruto would realize he is extremely hungry, and he is literally 7 years old, so it's not like he's gonna go out and start hunting, you know what I mean? And so what Naruto would do is pretty much just see a fruit on top of a tree, and it's a pretty big fruit. Naruto would think, yeah, if I could just get my hands on that fruit. He would climb atop the tree and he would finally make his way towards the fruit. As he would grab it, he would take one quick bite of it, and immediately Naruto would drop it onto the floor and pretty much begin to gag, as the fruit was utterly disgusting. But Naruto would then immediately just be like, ugh, that was so nasty. And Naruto would then begin to pretty much start slipping off of the tree because he wasn't watching his footing, and when Naruto does slip, he ends up grabbing himself by his arm. However, when Naruto ends up pretty much getting flung down, Naruto's entire arm would stretch all the way up from the tree to the ground. As Naruto would close his eyes, pretty much bracing for impact, Naruto would notice that he never exactly got hit with any impact whatsoever. And Naruto would find this extremely strange. As soon as he would open his eyes, he would see his arm and think, what the? As he would begin to immediately freak out, thinking, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, his inner thoughts would just be going insane, like crazy, like, my arm is stretchy. He would then walk over towards the fruit and think, is this what did it? As immediately out of nowhere, an insane comprehension for what abilities he ended up getting would go through his mind. He would pretty much end up finding out that he ate a fruit called the Gomu Gomu no Mi, and it pretty much gives him the abilities to stretch. Now, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but I'm pretty sure that when people eat devil fruits, they end up finding out the name of the devil fruit and what abilities it has. So I'm going to be going with that notion and saying that Naruto pretty much ends up finding that stuff out. And when he does, he ends up pretty much deciding that enough is enough. You know, he's too hungry and he's going to try to go back to the village. So he would leap around the entire forest and pretty much begin running around when he would encounter a gigantic bear. Naruto would begin running away from it with his dear life, and he would basically barely end up getting away from the bear as he would make his way into Konoha. Now, when he does enter the village, Naruto would pretty much make his way home, sneaking past a bunch of villagers and eating a bowl of ramen in the dark by himself, just like he does every other night. Now at this point, Naruto would begin to ponder upon these abilities and wonder, what now? As about, let's say, 1 year goes by, and Naruto at this point has been trying to master these abilities, but so far Naruto wasn't even able to throw a punch, just like Luffy couldn't when he was around Naruto's age. He wasn't able to even hit his targets properly. And so I'm going to be saying that Naruto at this point knows he has these strange abilities and thinks of moves, but he isn't quite able to pull them off. Like, let's say you want to do a backflip, but your body can't physically do it, you know what I mean? So it's kind of that thing. He has like a sort of mental block on his psyche that doesn't allow Naruto to use the Gomu Gomu no Mi's abilities to its fullest. Now, at this point, I'm going to say that we're just pretty much going to be having a little bit of a time skip to when the academy begins. And as soon as the academy begun, Naruto at this point has already grown up and matured quite a little bit, but he is still that goofball that we all know and love. And Naruto would end up pretty much making his way towards the classroom, where he would immediately be greeted by that same look that every single other person always gives him. That look of, why won't you just die? You don't belong here. You're a demon. That stare that just rocks him to his core. It would feel so awful if everywhere you went, you simply had looks of everybody wishing you were dead. And that's what Naruto feels. He feels down. He would put his head down towards the ground as he would begin to walk amongst everybody and find a seat next to a boy with dark hair. Now this would of course be Sasuke, and then Sakura would walk in as she proceeds to say, "Hey! Get out of my seat," you know what I mean? She begins to like pretty much badmouth Naruto, saying that he doesn't even belong here, and Sasuke would turn his gaze towards Naruto. And the first thing that Naruto would notice about this is that Sasuke didn't look at him with those eyes that everybody else gives him. Sasuke just looked at him with a, who are you? Like, I don't even care what you're doing here type of look. And that was the first time that Naruto felt like sort of a human, I guess you could say. And so Naruto would then proceed to get punched across the face by Sakura, as Naruto would pretty much just bounce back from it and say, all right, I get it. I'll move. He would move to the back of the classroom where Hinata would see Naruto sitting down quietly as he looks down at the ground, and Hinata would think, wow, Naruto sure is going through stuff. You know, at this point, he's already saved her and she's already developed that insane crush for Naruto. But at this point, what I'm going to be saying happens is Iruka enters the classroom, and everybody then begins to take this little exam to see where everybody stacks up in terms of ranking and who the strongest is currently. So they would take a written portion, and then they would go outside as they would take a physical portion where they have to run across an obstacle course and hit a bunch of targets with kunais and shurikens. And so everybody would do this, and Sasuke would get the highest marks. At the end, they would have one-on-one battles where Naruto would end up facing Sasuke and get obliterated. He would just get destroyed. It was not a competition. Naruto tried to stretch his arm out and hit Sasuke, to which the class was like, what? You know what I mean? They're like, how did you do that? But Naruto would say, I don't know. And the class would pretty much chalk it up to a Kekkei Genkai. But Naruto would just be like, not a Kekkei Genkai, it's a devil fruit. But he wouldn't say that. And then from there, Naruto would proceed to essentially just get up, as he would then look at Sasuke and say, you know, you're pretty strong. How about me and you become rivals? as Sasuke would just look away from Naruto and walk off. At this point, after school, Naruto would then begin to walk alongside Sasuke until he eventually made it into the Uchiha compound, and Naruto would say, "I'll see you again tomorrow," as he just waves at Sasuke, and in Naruto's eyes, he's thinking, I'm gonna make that guy my friend, like whether he likes it or not. And so, about 3 months of Naruto not leaving Sasuke alone, being even more persistent than Sakura, which is crazy to believe, would finally say, "What do you want, you dope?" As Naruto would turn his attention towards Sasuke and say, "I want to be your friend." You know what I mean? Like he would be like, "I want to be your friend." Sasuke would be like, "Well, I'm not just gonna be friends with you just cause you want to." And Naruto would say, "Why not?" As Sasuke would just begin to be like, "Dude, you've been following me around for months." And he would say, "Yeah, and I'm not gonna stop until you become my friend." Until Sasuke would say, "Fine, what do you want to do? Like, what exactly do you want me to do if I'm your friend?" Naruto would say, "I just want to train together, spar together, get stronger." Sasuke would say, "Fine, whatever. How about this? Tomorrow meet me at the training grounds and we'll train together. How's that?" Naruto would think, "Yeah, perfect." And from here, Naruto and Sasuke would begin this strange routine that would eventually develop as time would go on, and time in the academy would go on until one day would arrive where Sasuke ends up telling Naruto that, believe it or not, he's actually grown to like him a little bit. He's kind of fond to Naruto's personality. It's kind of grown on him. And Naruto and Sasuke on this day would end up pretty much doing something a little mischievous. Naruto would take out a bottle of sake and say, "Look at what I ended up snagging from one of the shops." Sasuke would say, "You can't do that." And then Naruto would say, "How about we drink it? I heard that if you drink sake, you become brothers." Sasuke would smile as he would say, "Sure thing. All right, let's have a drink." And Naruto would say, "But not before we spar." As they would fight, and Sasuke would obliterate Naruto like usual, because Naruto still can't use chakra, and he still can't even use his devil fruit abilities, believe it or not. Just to be clear, Naruto is a lot stronger than Luffy was when he was a kid, just because of the fact that he has chakra in his body, which just gives Naruto superhuman strength, plus the demon fox, which also gives him another amp. So this version of Naruto with Luffy's abilities is going to be quite broken. And in case you're wondering if Naruto's going to be having Haki, Conqueror's Haki, any of that stuff, you're just gonna have to wait to find out. So with that being said, what I believe is a good thing to happen is they all pretty much end up drinking, the thing. And then from here, what ends up going on afterwards is that Sasuke would end up eventually going home. Now, when he does so, Naruto would leave smiling, saying that I will meet him at the same spot tomorrow, seeing as this is a weekend and they don't have the Genin Academy tomorrow. So Sasuke would wave and say, "Yeah, good luck, Naruto," as he would end up arriving to the Uchiha compound, realizing that all of his family members have been murdered. Itachi would end up telling him that he needs hatred, and from this day forward, Sasuke would begin changing towards Naruto. As about weeks would go by of Sasuke keeping to himself, and when Naruto would end up pretty much trying to talk to Sasuke, it wouldn't work. Sasuke would always seem to give Naruto the cold shoulder, and things would honestly remain this way for a while, until eventually Naruto, when Sasuke is walking away from him, going back to his house for like the 39th time, Naruto would scream, saying, "We're supposed to be brothers. Why don't you talk to me? I know what happened to your clan, but just talk to me. You're the only person that doesn't look at me like I'm some sort of demon. You're the only person who's ever looked at me like I'm more than what everyone else seems to think I am. Sasuke, please. I know you lost your real family, but you still have me. I'm your brother, aren't I?" He would scream this to Sasuke at the top of his lungs. And Sasuke, as he's walking away, tears would begin welling up in his eyes as he has flashbacks of Naruto and himself and his own memories. Every time he defended Naruto from a villager who ended up calling him a demon, tried to attack him. Every single time that Sakura tried to hit Naruto and Sasuke looked at her and said she was annoying to go away. Every single time that he beat Naruto up and the bowls of ramen that they shared together. This would all go through Sasuke's mind as Naruto would stand there crying, saying, "Sasuke!" He would scream it. At this point, Sasuke would stop walking and he would then turn around and say, "I'm sorry." As at this point, both of them would pretty much end up looking at each other, and Naruto would say, "Whatever it is you want to do, I'll help you accomplish it. Please, Sasuke, just let me be there for you." You know what I mean? Sasuke, hearing these words, would say, "Fine." And at this point, Sasuke would take a kunai out as he stabs his hand, and he would say, "Then vow with me, Naruto. Vow to help each other accomplish our goals. Mine of killing Itachi, and yours of becoming the Hokage." Naruto would take out a kunai and stab his own hand, as both of them would put their hands together, becoming blood brothers. And from here, not only becoming blood brothers, but pretty much making a promise that both of them intend to keep. And from here, both of them would end up essentially being like, yeah, let's do it. As from here, Naruto and Sasuke would pretty much, for the rest of the time that they're together in the academy, would end up training together harder than they ever have before. And now we will have a little bit of a time skip to the day of the final day of the Genin Academy. Now at this point, they both just took the Genin exams, and Naruto ended up passing it because this time he ended up learning how to control his chakra. Sasuke was there to help him. He was there to help Naruto study with a couple of books, and Sasuke was also able to master how to tree walk. At this point, both of them have a decent understanding, with Sasuke being a lot better than Naruto at chakra control because he doesn't have a demon fox inside of him. And Sasuke also has access to the fireballs, jutsu, and a bunch of other things, as well as having way better taijutsu skills than in canon. And Naruto at this point is about as strong as Luffy was at the time of the Alabasta arc. So Naruto is pretty strong. So with that stated, what ends up happening here is Naruto overhears Mizuki pretty much telling another one of his genins that there's another hidden part to the exam. But seeing as Naruto actually knows the Hokage and knows that that's not a thing, he ends up actually telling this to Sasuke. And Sasuke ends up pretty much saying he must be a traitor to the village. I never did like that Mizuki guy. How about me and you test our strength? Let's see just how strong we are compared to a Chunin. From here, Naruto would end up saying, okay. As you know, they would end up following the kid, taking the scroll of sealing and each learning a jutsu from him. Naruto would learn the infamous multi-shadow clone jutsu, and Sasuke would end up learning a let's see, what jutsu should Sasuke learn? Something that would suit him. I genuinely don't know what jutsu Sasuke would learn. If you guys have any idea of something that would suit Sasuke pretty well, then please make sure to comment it down below so that I can implement it on the next part. But for now, I'm just going to be saying that they both end up learning a jutsu, and that is that. And when it comes to the academy, the very next day would roll around when both Naruto and Sasuke would enter the classroom, with Naruto wearing a let's see, what would Naruto wear? Let's say that Sasuke still wears his normal clothing, you know, even though I'm kind of making him the ace of the story where Sasuke is like the big brother of Naruto. He's not going to be having Ace's devil fruit ability or anything, or even as much of his personality. They're just going to be having a brotherly bond, a lot different than the one from Luffy and Ace. But I figured Sasuke's there, I needed to make this happen. So what I'm going to be saying happens here is Luffy, not Luffy, sorry, but Naruto and Sasuke would pretty much end up taking Mizuki out, and then we fast forward to the next day where they end up entering the academy and they're assigned teams. Now, when the team is all assigned, they end up pretty much getting Sakura on their team, and then Kakashi is their sensei. And from here, about an hour would go by until Kakashi would finally arrive, and this time Naruto wasn't exactly going to be pulling a prank. So when Kakashi arrives and he sees the team, he would see that Naruto and Sasuke are clearly, you know, tight together, and Sakura is just over there, like, you know, pretty much trying to get closer to Sasuke. And Kakashi would think, yep, this is gonna be a little interesting. He tells everybody to go up to the roof, and from here, I'm not even going to be covering this because no one cares about this interaction, but the main point of this would be that he tells everybody not to eat and to meet him at the training area tomorrow, because that is going to be where they're going to decide whether they stay on the team or go back to the academy. And from here, everybody would end up meeting at the academy at the place the very next day. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention, Naruto actually lives with Sasuke. He ended up leaving the apartment that he would live on and ended up moving into the Uchiha compound with Sasuke. And yeah, and also with that said, I'm going to also be saying that they both ended up pretty much arriving at the same time, seeing as they kind of live right next to each other. And yeah, that's about it. So with that being said, they all pretty much end up waiting about 2 hours for Kakashi to finally arrive, when Naruto was pretty much passed out and Sasuke's just thinking, this guy, does he plan to make us wait forever? Until Kakashi finally arrives and he would say, sorry, I got lost on the path of life. Or that a black cat went by and it was bad luck, so he went around. And so after that, I'm gonna say that Kakashi ends up explaining what the bell test even is. And then after this, they all end up pretty much getting in fighting positions, as Kakashi would tell them all to come at him with killing intent. Now, when all of them hear this, Naruto would think, all right, I guess I'll do that then, as Kakashi hasn't even said get started or go or anything, and Naruto would begin to pretty much spin his arm as he would say, gum gum pistol, you know what I mean? He would shoot his fist right at Kakashi's direction as he would jump over it and pretty much continue reading his Makeout Paradise book, as he would say, I didn't even say go. Naruto would rub the back of his head laughing, saying, oh, sorry. And from here, Kakashi would say, go. Sakura would immediately go into hiding as she would see Naruto and Sasuke both standing there. Immediately, Sasuke would say, Naruto, flaming formation, as Naruto would say, right. Sasuke would jump up into the air and shoot 5 different fireballs in Kakashi's direction, as Kakashi would widen his eyes thinking, again he shouldn't. But as he thinks that, Naruto would quite literally run into the fireballs, and he would then say, gum gum, bazooka, you know what I mean? Both of his arms end up pretty much hitting Kakashi, or so he thinks, because Kakashi uses the substitution jutsu and gets right behind Sasuke. Sasuke would sweep Kakashi's leg as Kakashi would fall onto the ground, create a 2 clones that would end up blocking Sasuke's kick, and then Kakashi and Sasuke would get into a taijutsu battle. As Naruto sees this, he would think, what to do? He would then think, I got it. As at this point, Naruto would think, all right, time for gum gum Gatling, you know what I mean? Like, he would immediately reel both of his arms back and begin throwing a bunch of like punches at like insane speed, is that it makes it look as if he's throwing a bunch of punches at the same time, like a Gatling, you know what I mean? So at this point, all of those fists would pretty much end up colliding with Kakashi as he is sent flying into a tree. And when he would get up, he would think, not bad. He would immediately lift his headband, and at this point, Sasuke would lose his absolute like balls, you know what I mean? Sasuke would see that eye and say, where did you get that eye? And Naruto, seeing this, would think, the Sharingan. From here, Sasuke would immediately, with rage, with nothing but blind rage, activate the Sharingan once again. Because if you guys don't know, I'm pretty sure Sasuke ended up awakening the Sharingan the day that Itachi killed his family. So he reawakens it, and then from here, or actually, is that even the case? I don't know, but I'm just gonna make this the case in the story. He would rush Kakashi, and Kakashi, seeing the One Tomoe Sharingan in Sasuke's eyes, would think he evolved. And from this point, Naruto would jump in with the kunai, as you know, he would hold the kunai in both of his hands and then say, you're done for, Kakashi, as he runs in and throws both of the kunais for Kakashi to have to leap into the air. At this point, Sasuke would say, Naruto, as Naruto would pretty much use his gum gum balloon. Sasuke would step off of Naruto to get sent flying at Kakashi at insane speeds, as he then proceeds to pretty much try to slash at Kakashi's face, as Kakashi narrowly dodges. But then Sasuke would end up saying, Naruto, as Naruto would say, right, appearing right behind Sasuke, and he would then pretty much proceed to, with a kunai, slash at the back of Kakashi, as Kakashi would say, ah, you know what I mean? Like, he's in pain, and Kakashi would then land on the ground with one knee and one hand holding himself up, and then say, all right, stop, before Sasuke and Naruto were able to land any more blows. Kakashi would then say, you pass. As both Naruto and Sasuke look at each other, and Sasuke for a moment forgets about the Sharingan, they would both get excited, and Kakashi would then say, or so is what I like to say, if that teammate over there that's in the hiding was to come out. As Sakura, hearing this, would think, huh? He knows where I am? Kakashi would then say, this is a team exercise. Or no, he wouldn't say that this is a team exercise. Or, yeah, he would say that. And then from there, Sakura would be like, what do you mean? Like, we don't pass. Like, they pretty much single-handedly beat you. Kakashi would say that it wasn't about who's the strongest, it was about teamwork. From here, he would tie them all up, or no, tie Sakura up, and it's at this point that Naruto and Sasuke would look at Sakura, and they would end up having a chat that goes along the lines of, we don't really like you, but since you're on our team, you're gonna need to get stronger to keep up with us and not hold us back. Sakura would begin to pretty much bawl her eyes out, saying Sasuke thinks he's annoying and weak, you know what I mean? Like, how could anything get any worse? She would then look at Naruto and say, it's all because of that damn Naruto, you know what I mean? And she would then say that, you know, that Naruto is nothing but an orphan, no one cares about him. And when Sasuke hears these words come from Sakura's mouth, he would give her a death stare and say, I will never, and listen to these words, ever be attracted to you. As he would then pretty much like tell Sakura that they're going to be needing her though, and he would feed her as Kakashi comes out of the shadows saying, you pass, you know what I mean? Everybody would be shocked as they're like, yo, we passed? And Kakashi would say, yeah, you guys passed. You guys did a pretty incredible job. As from here, Sasuke and Naruto would look at each other and say, passed? But that is where we're going to be ending. What if Naruto was Luffy's reincarnation? If you guys want to see the Land of the Waves arc and see where this story goes, then I recommend you guys go down below and smash that like button and get that 1,000 likes up so you guys can get part 2 as soon as possible. With that being said, I love each and every single one of you guys. Make sure to go down below and comment hashtag more for if you guys really want another part of the series. And with that being said, it has been your boy Zether. I am out, and peace.